Alexander Nevsky is such a good commander that I'm going to expertise him a second time. This is on my restart account, and a lot has changed since the first time that I maxed this commander with regard to our experience with the best pairings and how to use them, and the fact that honestly with even just the first 2 skills maxed, you can use them and get a ton of value. So stick around in this video for my latest thoughts on Alexander Nevsky, why he is so insanely powerful, and how you can start using him right away in the Season of Conquest. That's KVK 4 and beyond. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and if you're wondering why you don't see this commander in your lineup, it's probably because you're in KVK Seasons 1 through 3 or the start of the game. But once you get to the Season of Conquest, Alexander Nevsky is so strong. He is one of several commanders that I actually think pretty much every single player in Rise of Kingdoms should be thinking about expertising. Those commanders, by the way, are Alexander Nevsky, CPO, and Guan Yu, as in my eyes, like no question when you get to Season of Conquest, you should be looking at them. And of course, before Season of Conquest, Alexander the Great and Isong are still really great commanders. In fact, Isong is a commander I'm going to be talking about today in a way that might surprise you. So why am I maxing Alexander Nevsky yet again? This is because I need a Cav March, and he is so strong that I think it would be an error to not have at least 1 Cavalry March, 1 Infantry March, and 1 Archer March. Soon we'll see Archers, I think, as powerful as Alexander Nevsky here. And you gotta plan to have sets of gear for all of those things. Before I get into my updated pairings based off of countless hours using this commander, I'll give you a quick reminder to throw a like on the video if you're enjoying this so far, and subscribe to the channel if you want more daily Rise of Kingdoms videos designed to help you make better commander choices. So what are the best Alexander Nevsky pairs? I think the consensus at this moment in time is that the very best Alexander Nevsky pair is with XY primary. And I don't think anyone would even really contest that. Yes, there are really great things you can do with Nevsky and William. And if you're bringing only 1 Cavalry March and you have access to lots of cavalry commanders, I do think that William offers some really great buffs. But for the single hardest hitting march you can make, possibly in the game, you're looking at XY with Nevsky secondary. This is because of the really fast rage cycle. And the funny thing is that when I made my first video about Alexander Nevsky, I was steering people a little bit away from this combo because so many people that I know that had maxed XY in the past were complaining about how he would just get wrecked in the field. Everybody would target him. They wouldn't have a chance to do much damage. And they even deeply regretted investing in XY. But now that you compare XY with Nevsky, I mean, this changes the context a lot. First of all, why is that the case? You've got Nevsky boosting the skill damage of whatever commander you're paired with. Well, XY does a ton of skill damage, and he has a fast rage cycle, which means the synergy here is just through the roof. Plus, every time you get attacked, you have a chance to trigger extra health from Nevsky. So if they focus your XY, then you've got some tankiness here. Plus, your normal attack damage is boosted, which means your counterattack damage also is elevated. Plus, when you're surrounding stuff, there's some damage mitigation, and there's a ton of defensive stats here. Finally, there is a commander that makes XY much safer to use in the field, and the prevalence of all these XYs and Nevskys running around makes it so that you're no longer one of a small number of XYs running around the field, but there are now many. And there is some safety in those numbers because now you're not the only person who's going to get targeted right away. So I think there's really no question about it that the best pair is actually going to be the XY with Nevsky for the most damage you can crank out in a single march. Again, I prefer for a murder ball, if you're bringing only 1 cavalry march, to have Nevsky paired with William, because I really value the defense boost and rage boost because I've seen how good that is. And I talked about how good William is, card up in the top. If you want to see that, you can see it in a separate video. I, of course, do need to call attention to the fact that there were many pairs I predicted that are exactly as good as I predicted them. A commander like Mehmed is a fine secondary. Honda Tadakatsu is a fine secondary for Nevsky. In addition, Minamoto works as well as I thought he would. I will say I gave maybe less credence or credit to commanders like Double C than perhaps I should have, because the reality is that the power level on Nevsky is so high that you can really put almost any commander behind him, as long as it's a, legendary cavalry commander that we're talking about, or potentially leadership commander, and it's gonna work pretty well. In fact, in this next KVK, I may end up using, on this account, of all things, Nevsky with Isong. And I wasn't expecting to be in that position, but the thing is that any pair you would make with Nevsky, just think of him as better Saladin, okay? That's an oversimplification, but he is just like Saladin, but better in pretty much every way, with the exception of, I guess, the utility of the march speed reduction and the healing reduction, but that's about it. So you would run Saladin Isong and be pretty happy about that. Well, guess what? Nevsky Isong should also work just fine, and I've played around with it a little bit, and it seems to work really, really well. So with all that explanation out of the way, I will add one final thing that makes that XY Nevsky combo more viable than I think it has been in the past. And that one thing is the fact that the longer the game is out, the longer you play, the more equipment you collect, and the cavalry gear is just insanely tanky, and it's easy to get a lot of very defensive stats to offset how punchy the XY with Nevsky actually is, and give it the sustain, or really tankiness, that it needs to survive. So this is a amazing starter set that you see right here once you're getting into legendary upgrades, and I get that people need to get to that point, and you don't start the game at that point, okay? But you could stop here and be extremely happy, with the exception, of course, of needing some accessories to be placed, with the equipment that you've got. We've got health on the boots and the chest piece, and sure, I could make Ash of the Dawn. That's a legendary leg. But for 60 legendary materials, I'm getting 1.5% of health. Okay, 20 legendary materials per 0.5% of health. I would rather put 60 legendary materials toward an accessory. See what I mean? The same is really true of the gloves and also the weapon, and I made a detailed video all about the best equipment for each march as you're making your first legendaries in the game. I'll have a card up in the top for that video. You can check it out at the end of this one, I'll remind you, that talks way more in depth about this equipment. And the thing that I plan to make that you really don't have to is the KVK helmet on top is going to be actually just kind of amazing. So this equipment that is very tanky is great on this commander because he already does more than enough damage. You just need to live long enough to dish out as much damage as you possibly can while you're getting focused, because people will focus this commander. I guess now the final thing I'll talk about before actually expertising him, and we'll swing around in Canyon a little bit, is that I still feel like this is the correct build to use. Correct is maybe a strong word, but for a commander that has a ton of utility in the active skill reducing defense of the enemy, I want to fire off that skill faster. I may overrage on some turns because there is a cap to the total amount of rage you can get in any one turn, but still, I really like Feral Nature here. The alternative is to go all the way up and get Rallying Cry, but for the most part, you try to stay in combat for a while rather than have quick exchanges. Granted, in KVK, sometimes that's what you end up with, but I think that you're better off trying to fire off that 2,300 damage factor active skill faster. Getting the extra rage seems to work really well. If we had an option besides versatility here, I think there would be more build choices on your Nevsky, but as it stands, I don't think I would try any other build. This, of course, brings us to actually maxing him that second time. So here we go. I have 737 sculptures. I spun them on the wheel. This is a Wheel of Fortune Commander, which is actually incredible. And we just finished up the Cav wheel. I'm about to enter into KVK. This is one of those moments where it's time to go max the commander. Now you can see I tried to get a 5-5-1-5 because I think the general consensus is that this final skill, boosting all that skill damage, is probably a little bit better, but all the skills on this commander are really amazing. And I will point out that if you do hone in and allow yourself to max this third skill, it does scale up more per point for the final 2 points for the amount of defense you get, but It's not that much of a difference here. And as long as you feel like you're going to be surrounding stuff frequently, which, I mean, you're going to bring multiple marches to the field, right? Then I think the third skill is really quite good. But let's just finish off this project and max this sucker out. I also do want to mention one more thing of Nevsky, by the way, that this might be one of the best commanders I have ever used in my entire time playing Rise of Kingdoms for swarming a garrison. In terms of the quality of the trade I get, it's actually just insane. But here we go. Alexander Nevsky, for the second time in Rise of Kingdoms, for me anyways. Here it is, the expertise skill unlocked. Don't forget to tap that. I may or may not, in my start of the game, maxed Sun Tzu and then not tapped the expertise skill and then instantly put him in a garrison and made mistakes. Mistakes made, but whatever. Okay, there it is. Alexander Nevsky, expertise. Let's go. And I mean, what is this? My 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th expertise legendary here. That's not a gathering commander or Ethelfled. Let's freaking go. This account is 940 days old. And I don't really even do Ark of Osiris on this account, which is a huge source of sculptures. Honestly, I mean, if I had been doing this the entire time, I'd have a lot more sculptures, but that also takes a really long time. Now, I have been using Nevsky with tremendous success, unmaxed in Canyon. In fact, if I just show you my defensive lineup here, this particular formation is working shockingly well for me. I'm not saying everybody should go replicate this. I'm just saying it's working. And Nevsky in the offlane, even on my main account, I know this works insanely well. And I think I need to remove him from my lineup. Oh, no, he's maxed now. It's showing him maxed, but there it is. The little portrait down here was not updated. Now it's updated. Nevsky is really good for the offlane because of the expertise skill. The 5% all normal attack damage boost and also the chance to get the triggered health. He's so good at dueling and 1v1s that he just works really well. And I have the Mehmed there in case they try to swarm it when they attack me. I get a little bit of AoE damage. If you have Minamoto, I actually think Nevsky Minamoto will be a much better play. And that frees up your Mehmed to go somewhere else. But let me just show you a few matches, and you'll just be shocked at how well Nevsky does, I think. In most cases here, he's just such a strong commander in so many situations. How do I want to line up against this? I actually think this is a great way to line up. My Alexander the Great's going to hit their Constantine. It's going to diminish, hopefully, the amount of healing he gets from Constantine's 4th skill. And I do have an Anchor siege unit over here. If you want a more detailed explanation about how to absolutely slay in Canyon, I went really off the deep end trying to make myself a master of this game mode, and I wouldn't say I'm exactly a master of it, but I did learn a ton. Card will be up in the top for everything that I learned about how to hack your way to a higher rank in Canyon. So let's just give this a shot here, and here we go. Let's run it out and see how it does. Theoretically, because of the way that they have positioned their E-Song over here, I could have run my march, and maybe I'll do this next time. If I were fighting this again, I guess I should say. I could have placed this march down a row, and I might have had my area of effect damage hit this. They also would have been hitting me, though. There's pros and cons to that, sort of soaking up the damage from the E-Song AoE, because remember, AoE damage, wow, their Alex Herald is actually working in the front line, which I'm not used to. I think my lining up the Trajan there was actually a mistake. I needed to put... Okay, I guess I will fight this again. Let's see if, like, wow. Okay. But you can see my offlane's doing really great. That's an unmaxed Mehmed, and I'm beating the Saladin, not by a little, but by a lot. And at this point, I'm just going to lose. There's no way I can win from here, I think. Yeah, I mean, let's just run it again. We'll do it again. And I think that I need to do way more damage to the Alex Herald. I'm not used to seeing that march in Canyon. I don't think that that's a good frontline march. I actually do think that would be a really good offlane march. And if I wanted to take the pressure off my main lane, which I think I do here, I'm actually going to bump this down probably to there. And let's see if my AoE damage does what I think. I might need to put it back here, but we'll give this a shot. And it'll reduce the E-Song damage to my front line by making my back line take some E-Song damage here. Let's see how this goes. I'm in position. Oh yeah, I think my AoE from Mehmet is going to work here. The E-Song from the enemy is going to be hitting me, which in this case is fine. And I think putting more damage onto their Herald is where I wanted to be. We'll see how that works out for me. I think this is all working out pretty well, though. You can see, like, it's absolutely transformative, the way that this match is shaping up. My soaking the E-Song damage from the Ethelflaed on my offlane, which was going to win anyways, was a big win. Now I collapse down. Night and day difference here. And sometimes you just got to run it a couple times. But you can see, even though I was, I think, eating that E-Song AoE, it's still doing so good in the offlane. I mean, Nevsky is just oppressively strong. I do have a couple tickets here that I can use for a couple more battles, so let's just give that a shot real quick. Give you a little bit more of a taste of Nevsky, but this will be really good. XY Nevsky in the offlane. You know, theoretically, I should just try to swarm that out, and that might actually be the better way to run this, but I am a little worried about how tanky his Richard is, and if I do that with his offlane, I actually put myself in trouble for this like really extremely high damage backline here. I think he's really just trying to bait me into doing that. So I'm going to go fight that down there. And then I do want to have my Alex hitting the Richard. And then I think I need to have my Trajan probably line up with his Guan and just soak up as much damage as I possibly can. Let's run this. Also, looks like there might be expertise CPO, definitely a CPO going on here, which is kind of be cool to see. Let's see how this unfolds, okay? He's also using anchors on his backline, which I don't quite understand why you would want to do that. I don't know why you would anchor the backline, because you're just losing seconds of damage by doing that, but maybe there's something going on there. I don't know. And you can see my offlane. He's got XY and Nevsky. I have Nevsky paired with Mehmed, and just by having more troops, I'm actually doing a shocking amount of punch to him here in a way that I might not have expected. And I don't think his XY and Nevsky are maxed, which is a part of the reason that I'm able to pull that off. You can see my top lane is now victorious, and this is actually a pretty big win here. Okay, let's do one more battle. The reason I'm not targeting the players at the very top here is I think the equipment and commander depth just like dramatically outclasses what I'm capable of, but we can go for this player here in 15. We'll see how it goes. He's got a Guan CJ, which is kind of cool. I'm obviously a fan of that combo, using it myself. He also has the XY Herald lineup here, or not XY Herald, Alex Herald in the top. So I think I have to try to DPS that combo out like I did previously. We'll see if this works well for me here. I don't know that it will. I'm a little bit more intimidated by this lineup that he's got going. So let's just give this a shot and see what happens. That is, yes, a Guan and maxed CPO together there. They are just such a good combo. Let's see how this goes. Part of the reason I don't think that your well, I don't know. That's not necessarily true. I mean, CPO, even in the backline, he takes skill damage, and he's going to start throwing around shields. It's just nutty. A lot of damage going on here. The top lane is just getting obliterated on both sides. And I feel like once his Guan is 1v1ing against my E-Song, that probably favors him. Looks like I slightly outlasted him in the top. But I don't know that that's going to translate well for me. I guess we'll see. It all depends on kind of how that unfolds. Oh, I'm winning in that lane too. And you can see, look at this off lane. I mean, Nevsky is just a champion, man. And with Mehmed, the more troops you have, the better. I'll say that the even better combo for this offlane is Nevsky with Honda. And the metaphor that I've been using for Mehmed is that he, you know, or I guess, yeah, for Mehmed, he's kind of like a worse Honda. Okay, Mehmed is worse Honda. Wait, he beat me. Wait. How did that happen? I thought I was winning. Let's see if I can pull out the W here with Nevsky. Did I misread what was happening up there? I thought I was crushing it. But look at that. Nevsky saved the day. I was too busy telling you about Honda to notice that I was actually getting wrecked. I'm so confused as to how that happened. But whatever. There it is. Nevsky, folks. The MVP. The true hero of the team. One more attempt. I don't think I can beat Knuckles, dude. Look at this lineup. This thing is stacked. Oh my god. Constantine, Mulan, Guan, Leo. Let's just do it anyways. I'm going to lose. I'm definitely going to lose this, but whatever. Teaching moment here. Let's give it a shot. That bottom lane is just unbelievably stacked. It's gonna completely shred me. I don't know how I get around it too. I'm tempted to just throw my Trajan at it, but Trajan is gonna get wrecked so fast that it's not even gonna stack up defensively. So this is a big time awkward situation for me. The only thing, and that's, oh wow, is that a Monotori and Esong? I guess I can try to have my offlane soak some damage here. We'll give it a shot. I don't know how this is going to work. We'll try. GG. This is going to be tough. What happens? Anchor worked? Maybe. I might be too far forward. I needed to be further back. Well, I'm definitely going to soak damage, and I'm definitely missing the opportunity to be doing AoE damage back, which is going to be just super awkward for me. Oh, it's even Artemisia. So, okay, I'm not taking AoE damage. Where's the Esong? They don't have Esong? That's probably good for me that they don't have Esong. But I'm also kind of getting wrecked here, I think. Even their offlane is beating me, which I find somewhat surprising, but I think that's the Constantine and Mulan buffs overpowering the value of just my pure Trajan buffs, helping their offlane win here. And I think their equipment is almost certainly better than mine. GG. That's a good match. I think I could have done a little better if I had lined it up so my AoE would have landed, but good game. There's a reason they're top ranked in Canyon. So, if you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. If you're looking for more information about equipment choices, commander pairings, how to even decide, do I upgrade this commander or that commander, I'll put just a ton of great reference material. Cards will be up in the top in the info section. Go look at one of those videos. But if you're considering, do I max Nevsky or not? I mean, I think the answer is absolutely you do. Nevsky is so good. Nevsky is good, CPO is good, Guan is good. I don't think you could possibly regret investing in any of those commanders at this moment in time in Rise of Kingdoms history. The only regret you might have is that when there are some new archers that land, which should be in about 2.5 months from now, they may be so strong that you may wish you had saved a few sculptures to do those archers, but for the meta that's here now, those commanders are top tier. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.